everyone, and thanks very much for being with us for what I think you're going to find a very informative evening about the issue that is on, I believe, everybody's minds. And that is at a time when we have almost 100,000 people who have died of the virus, 1.4 million people have been infected, when we have over 38 million people in the last 9 weeks who have applied for unemployment benefits, and the real number of people who have lost their jobs is certainly higher than that. The question that people are asking is, okay, Trump is talking about opening the economy, but how do we open the economy in a way that is safe? So before we get to that discussion, I did want to thank Josh O'Keefe from Nashville for his music. And with us tonight, we have a very, very strong panel, people who are on the front lines of this pandemic, people who know a heck of a lot about the science of the virus and how we can best go forward in a safe way. And in a minute, we're going to be hearing from Mary Kay Henry, who's the president of the Service Employees International Union, one of the very largest unions in this country. We're going to be hearing from New York State Senator Jessica Ramos, whose district is one of the hardest hit districts in the entire country. And Jessica has been working really hard in many ways, trying to protect the people in her community. We're going to hear from Dr. Abdul El Sayed, who is a physician, epidemiologist, public health expert, and is the former head of the Detroit Health Department. And last but certainly not least, we're going to hear from Rishi Desai, who is an infectious disease physician, former CDC epidemic intelligence officer, and currently a chief medical officer at osmosis.org. And we thank all of our panelists for being with us. And before I go any further, let me also urge people who'd like to get updates from what we are doing to go to berniesanders.com /updates, berniesanders.com/updates. So here we are in the middle of the worst pandemic in 100 years. Some 95,000 people have already died. 1.4 million people have been infected. And those are very, very conservative numbers. And what is incredibly distressing about the entire process is that we are seeing many, many workers who go to their jobs every day in large numbers becoming infected and in too many cases dying from this virus. Let me just give you some distressing statistics. And these are conservative statistics because some of them are dated, and I think they understate the nature of the problem. We have, in terms of healthcare workers, our nurses, our doctors, over 9,000 of them have been infected, and at least 27 of them have died. In terms of transit workers, according to the Amalgamated Transit Union and the Transport Workers Union, there have been almost 150,000 of their 150, not 150,000, 150 of their members have died. In terms of meatpacking workers, we're looking at almost 5,000 who have been infected, and 20 of them have died. In terms of our jails, hundreds and hundreds of inmates have died. Thousands have been infected. And in terms of prison staff, we're looking at almost 7,000 who have tested positive and 28 deaths. These are just of prison staff. In terms of postal workers, people are out there every day delivering our mail or working in post offices. 2,400 have been infected, 60 have died. Grocery store workers, people who make sure that, we get the food that we need to stay alive. More than 10,000 have been infected among United Food and Commercial Workers members alone, and 68 union members there have died. So what we are looking at is a situation, rather an amazing situation, that many of these workers are lower wage workers. You know, they don't have a choice about whether they're going to stay home and work from home and work on their computers or not. By definition, if you drive a bus, so you work in a train, you are out there. If you are checking out people in a grocery store, you are out there every day meeting and interacting with people. You don't have a choice. So what tonight is about is to ask the questions, do people need to get sick and die in order to earn a paycheck? And what can we do to make sure that when you go to work, you are not going to get infected and you're not going to die? How can we create, and when can we create, a safe work environment? So with that, let's go right now to a short video. It'll take us about a couple of minutes, but this video will reflect the views of a number of workers who, it turns out, are putting their lives on the line every single day just going to work. All right, let's see that video.
We are a nation
has done an extraordinary, who stood up in 7 states and the U.S. House of Representatives. That's what happens when workers at the grassroots level organize.
Thanks, yep. And we're not stopping Senator and jobs black and brown.
Or maybe Jessica as well, but I think I'll take a first crack at it. It's from Chuck Pearson, and Chuck asks, how is the new stimulus coming along? I think Chuck is talking about what we call Corona 4. And this is an important issue, and we need everybody in this country to be involved in it. You got a leader in the U.S. Senate, Mitch McConnell, who says, you know what, I don't really see the urgency out there. I don't know that we have to hurry along and move aggressively on this issue. Now, as you know, the House of Representatives last Friday, passed a $3 trillion bill, a significant step forward. I have differences with some of the provisions in there, but it was a major step forward, recognizing the reality that 38 million people have filed for unemployment and are struggling in this country, that people have no health care, that people are getting evicted from their homes. So the first thing that we have got to do, Chuck, is make Trump and Mitch McConnell understand that there has never been more urgency for strong and aggressive action on the part of the Senate than right now. You got to do it. Now, there's a lot of stuff that has to be done. Let me just tell you some of what I am working on along with other senators. Number one, I think the fastest, most efficient way to put money into workers' pockets is through what we call the Paycheck Security Act. This is being done throughout Europe. And what it says to a worker, you lost your job, well, whether you're staying home or whatever, working part-time, full-time, you're not working at all, you will continue to get your paycheck and the benefits that you had. That is the fastest way, I think, to put money and security into working people in this country. Number two, as I mentioned earlier, it is insane to me that in the midst of this crisis, you probably have 100 million people or more who are uninsured or underinsured, who cannot go to the doctor if they think they have the coronavirus, cannot go to the doctor if they are sick in any other way or their kids are sick. During this emergency, while we continue the fight for Medicare for all, we should make sure that everybody in this country has access to health care without out-of-pocket expense. Number three, the idea of another $1,200 one-shot stimulus payment is just not good enough. $1,200 is what the average rent in America is. That's all it is. And to just provide one more $1,200 payment is not enough. I think we should do what Canada is doing, $2,000 per person a month. That would take just an enormous amount of anxiety off the backs of working families in this country. Will that be expensive? Yeah, it will. But in this moment, we've got to protect our future. We've got to protect our kids. And I'd rather spend the money now than spend it later when we fall into a severe depression. So those are some of the areas that I am working on. Other people are working on other very, very important issues as well. But the fight right now, and I need everybody to help us on this, is to tell McConnell and the Republican leadership in the Congress and Trump that we have to move aggressively now. We got to address the enormous, unprecedented pain and suffering which now exist. I would add to that, and I agree with everything you said, the need to do what every other major country on earth does, guarantee health care
Yes.
for all people is a human right, in my view, through a Medicare for all single payer program. I think we have got to create tens of millions of jobs addressing climate change and our crumbling infrastructure. We need to rethink education in this country. I don't know if you have organized any childcare workers. Have you done that
Yes.
yet?
Yes, we have 40,000 in California that are trying to go to the bargaining table to raise their poverty wages into living wages.
Don't get me going on this one, but every psychologist will tell you that 0 through 4 are the most important years of human development, and we treat childcare workers probably worse than we treat McDonald's workers. Low wages, low benefits, awful. All right, so we need to rethink education in America, need to rethink criminal justice in America. As Jessica was saying, we need big, big time to rethink immigration in this country. And I would hope very much that if there is any silver lining in this terrible, terrible, painful moment, when so many people have died and gotten sick and lost their jobs and are living under such mental health anxiety, that if there's any silver lining, it's what I think everybody has said, we can't go back to the old way. We got to rethink America and create a government, an economy, a healthcare system, an energy system that works for all of us, not just the few on top. So maybe out of this horrible moment, that's the lesson that we can learn and the agenda we can pursue. All right, with that, I just want to thank all of our panelists for the work they are doing every single day. These guys are working really hard, are protecting people, and I thank them very much.